Oh. Frozen to the ground. Damn, that thing is bright. We have got to do something about that squeaking, whistling, whatever. I think it's in the throttle body. Give it a little gas. Goes away. Does sound pretty good. Stock manifolds, stock cats, / mid-pipe, Y-pipe, whatever you want to call it, into just that SLP cat pack with a single muffler. Sounds good. Well, under my ownership, this thing has been mostly stock for about 15 miles. And that's plenty, so let's mod the heck out of it. Welcome back to another Trans Am WS6 video. In the last video, we took care of some of the minor issues that this thing had, like a cracked door panel, burnt up rear seat, windshield cowl, and a couple other minor things, ABS light, power steering leak. If we wanted to, this thing could be a buff and an interior detail away from just sending it down the road and making some money. But we've done that in the past in this channel, and that's a lot of fun. And also makes some money for me that we can reinvest in the channel. But I want to have some fun with this car, and I think that we can do it without really losing too much money as far as like sinking money in and not getting it back. I think that this is a prime car to modify. 63,000 miles, not, you know, show car low, but also not 200,000 high. So I think that if it's tastefully modded, we can actually add a little bit of value to the right buyer. The 4th gen Trans Ams from 98 to 02 anyways had the almighty LS1, 346 cubic inches of American muscle under the hood. And do you really own an LS if you don't do a cam and headers? And that is exactly what is in the boxes right here. If you're gonna modify your LS1 past, you know, regular bolt-ons like, you know, catback exhaust and an intake, these are your first performance mods to the engine or drivetrain right here. almost all the time, headers and a cam. So I got some stuff here from TIC Performance, some components from Rock Auto, and some exhaust stuff from Speed Engineering. Let's get right to work. Let's get this stuff all unboxed and take a look at it. Nothing better than modifying a stock car. I am so excited about this project. Been a while since I've done a cam on an LS motor. I think since the Camaro here. So let's do it. Let's dig in. Well, here it is. Crash course on how to go into credit card debt. Just buy a bunch of stuff for your Pontiac Trans Am. Here is the goodies, guys, all unboxed, unpackaged. Been hiding this in the garage for the past couple weeks from you guys. But you can see what we got going on here. We got a set of Speed Engineering 1 7/8 inch stainless steel long tube headers. And then I mated that with their true dual catback. So as you guys saw, and we'll show in a little bit here, from the factory, these F-bodies come with a Y-pipe. Right off the stock manifolds, it kind of goes into a Y-pipe, single pipe over the axle, and then splits back out into two to get out the rear. And there's only 1 or 2 companies that make a true dual kit, which means it stays dual all the way from the headers out to the tailpipes. And that is Speed Engineering, and I think Hooker makes one as well. But here's the muffler, or one of them anyways. I didn't fully unbox this thing. 3-inch 304 stainless steel all the way, and of course you guys know I love the dual wall slash cut tips on just about everything, and that's gonna look sick on this Trans Am. Really fill in the bumper better than these rinky-dink SLP tips. Yeah, we can do better than that. Good power, should sound awesome. So that's the exhaust side. The cam side is right here. Right off the bat, talked to my friends at TIC Performance, and they recommended for a street car, this is their Stage 2 Torque Master, I think it's called, NA cam. So this is going to have good street power. You won't have to rev it out to 8,000 RPMs to make power. Just going to be a good stoplight to stoplight cam. Should have some good chop. There's the specs for anyone that cares. The cam card is obviously included with the cam. And here's that. But of course, you guys know who have done a cam or watched someone do a cam in the past, you know it's not as simple as just slapping the cam into the block, even though some people do that. There's a lot of while you're in there stuff that you should do and that I definitely like to do. Got to upgrade your valve springs. These, and I also opted for the titanium retainers, so we reduce a little bit of moving mass in the valve train. Oil pump, you know, 150 bucks or so while you're in there. Get a brand new high pressure, high volume oil pump from Melling. What do we got here? This is a timing set, you know, new timing chain, guide, all that stuff. Picked up a Wix filter. A lot of this stuff I got from Rock Auto, by the way. Can't beat their prices, obviously. Rock Auto, guys, what are you doing? I'm once again asking you to sponsor me. The other big item here that I'm just now realizing I forgot to order is lifters. You should probably do lifters on a 24-year-old car with 64,000 miles. You might be able to get away with doing a cam with the stock lifters, but again, if you have to do the valve springs anyways, it's easier to do that with the heads off, and if you want to replace the lifters on an LS style motor, you guys know you have to pull the heads anyways. So head gaskets, obviously one-time use. Got a set of OEM style multi-layer steel head gaskets, timing cover gasket set, new exhaust manifold gaskets, again OEM metal style. Take these things, these paper gaskets that all the cheap header companies send with the gaskets, put them right here, right in the garbage. Don't use those. They're terrible. So got good gaskets there, new cam retainer plate and hardware, GM lifter trays. This is important. Don't cheap out on this stuff. Don't cheap out on lifters. Don't cheap out on lifter trays. You do not want to be doing that stuff again. OEM style head bolts. You obviously could do ARP head studs in a situation like this, but I'm not planning on boosting this thing. So the OEM head bolts are cheap and effective and can help us save money to, you know, buy other stuff like headers. Picked up a Wix filter while I was there. What is this? Oil galley plug, I think. And then, you know, crank bolt, and then ARP cam bolts and stuff. These are cheap on Rock Auto as well. So basically everything we need to do a cam swap minus lifters, which I'm going to order just right about now. Also, these Speed Engineering True Duals, I guess, require a panhard bar relocation, so pick that up for about $100 as well. All said and done, if you shop around like I did, I think I'm at or just under $2,000 in all this stuff, which should bump our horsepower up in this thing significantly. It would be cool to have like some 60 to 130 times or 0 to 60 times or a dyno, but it's the middle of winter, the roads are covered in salt, and I just don't want to drive this thing out on the road right now. Most stock LS1s I think are, you know, usually between 320 and 350 to the tire with the 6-speed manual. With the cam, long tube headers, and true duals, I would be willing to bet that we are well over 400 to the tire, and should sound awesome and make a good amount of power. So unboxing is the easy part. It's time to get to work. And I think we're just gonna start up here and then move our way around. Obviously the entire exhaust from the head all the way to the tips is coming off. The whole front of the motor needs to come apart, fluid's gone, timing, you know, balancer's gotta come off, all the coils, all of this stuff, intake, everything. So I'm just gonna dive in, kind of start picking away, and I'll check in with you guys in a little bit, but let's get our hands dirty, get in here, start this cam and exhaust swap. Swallowed up my 10 mil. Should have left it stock. We're off to a good start. 20 minutes. Get a 10 mil socket out from back there. Think I'm playing? What the? No way. Get back here. Oh my, that's tightening. This coolant hose is about to be anything but a coolant hose. The same guy that made this is probably the guy that designed the door panel. Sneak attack! Yeah. You can see the old electrical tape trick coming, huh? Plug wires hanging on for dear life. Woo! Almost lost my cool. What's up, Cobra? This 4th gen is driving me to drink. We are making some progress, but This is about 2 hours worth of work, at least for me, right here. If you guys saw the first video in this car, you know my history with them. I've probably had 15 of these things over the years, but it's been at least 15 years since I've done, you know, work other than like an oil change and some cosmetic stuff. The first few that I really worked on between my years of 17 and 19 or so, I did long tube headers and intake manifolds and, you know, all that stuff. I have yet to do a cam on one of these yet. But the point is, I forgot how much of a pain these things are to work on. You forget that GM put half of the motor underneath the cowl and stuffed it between these shock towers here and then added a whole bunch of crap, emission stuff in the way. Just an absolute nightmare. For example, this back coil bolt on this side, you guys saw me, that took 30 minutes to get that one bolt. 20 of that was trying to get my 10 mil socket that fell somewhere into the abyss over there back using a magnet and my scope and like a whole bunch of other stuff, just finagling my hands back there. And then another 10 minutes, just, you know, eighth of a turn, eighth of a turn, eighth of a turn. So that was fun. Got the EGR stuff out of the way, made it a little bit easier. We will definitely be putting that back on. Intake manifold is more of the same. You got the brake booster connection on the back, oil pressure sensors right there. Actually, maybe I should replace that while I'm here. God knows that would really stink if that thing failed and we had to do this all again. Whole bunch of other connections that you got to do, kind of blind, vacuum line, whatever. Usually what I do on these things is I'll undo it there, which gives me a little room to pull the manifold this way, and then you have better access to this right here. But here's 23 years of buildup inside the intake valley here, but the ports themselves, you know, pretty typical. We'll get all this cleaned up. The heads are coming off anyways. Here's the pile of parts. This filter has had it. There's not a lot of flow going through there, so we'll add that to the list. Coils are here. The intake manifold, fuel rails, throttle body, all that can come off as one. Here's the BBK throttle body, which I think is the source of our squealing. So maybe we'll take this apart a little later, get a better look at it. But that should be, knock on wood, that should be the hard part. That's the worst of it as far as under the cowl, really struggling with tight clearance. The head bolts, I think you have a little bit more room, but we'll see. Up next, I think I'm actually going to move kind of to the bottom of the car and do the exhaust, and that will give us more room to get, there's like a ground connection on the back of the head or a wire harness connection that's going to be easier to get to from the bottom of the car and will be easier with the exhaust out of the way. So I think I'm going to do that next. Coolant is draining right now so that we can, I think in order to get room to slide the cam out, the radiator and fans are going to have to come out. And the coolant's obviously got to be drained anyways if the heads are coming off. So we're making some slow progress, but progress nonetheless. That might do it for today. I am sufficiently frustrated. Almost put another ventilation hole in my cabinet, but was able to keep my cool per se today. But I think I'm going to go watch some playoff football, hang out with my wife and newborn. I'll catch you guys tomorrow. We'll get right back at it. we're going, we don't need any of that. All right, next night, made some progress. Exhaust, specifically. Got the car up in the air and got the exhaust basically back to the over axle pipe off. So that includes, actually we started with the catalytic converter. Well, no, we started with the Y pipe. This was barely bolted on, which I guess explains why it was leaking. It was also loose there. So, you know, not the best install job. I think this is the SLP Loudmouth 1 or LM1. So single muffler and then the, you know, dual tips or quad tips, I guess you call it. We might be able to sell this, recoup a little bit of our money there. Here's the factory Y pipe. Manifolds or catalytic converters rather came off pretty easy. These are probably worth some money to someone or a scrapper. EPA, if you're listening, just kidding. Those cats are going back in the car for sure. Manifolds were not too bad. Passenger side came off pretty easy. Didn't have any broken bolts. The driver's side here, the back bolt broke or snapped off in the head, and the frontmost bolt snapped off in the head. In our case, this is no big deal because we're taking the heads off anyway, so I can put them on the bench, hopefully weld a nut on to the aluminum or the steel bolt that's stuck in the head, and then back it out. If this was just a simple header job, you're having a bad time. You either need to try and get in there and extract that, or, you know, with a welder, just like I described, or drill it out or extract it, or, you know, your options are limited and space is tight. So yeah, that is a good example of how your night could go from bad to worse. You guys hear that? Even inside we got plane noises. Some sort of big helicopter. Anyways, the exhaust is basically all off. All that we need to do for now, this will come off in about 3 seconds, so we can do that at any point. But for now, I'd still like to focus on continuing to tear down the motor here. Now that the exhaust is off or the manifolds are off, we should be able to pop these valve covers, undo the rockers, pull the push rods, and start cracking those head bolts loose. And hopefully pull these heads off. I also need to disconnect these coolant hoses, so that I can pull this radiator up and out while leaving the AC condenser in the car so that stays charged. And that'll give us access to, hopefully soon, pull the cam. So let's keep the progress rolling. Let's get the valve covers off, rockers, radiator, all that good stuff. Let's keep going. Oh, from the vault. I don't have a whole lot of literature in the garage, but this Haynes repair manual for 1993 to 2002 Chevy Camaro and Pontiac Firebird is a staple. And the reason I say that is because I bought this when I was 16 or 17 at the local AutoZone to start working on my 95 Firebird Formula and my 95 Camaro Z28 at the time, when I had no idea what I was doing. This was, 2006, 2007. Forums were, just kind of getting going. There was absolutely no such thing as Facebook, groups or anything like that. So if you needed to know how to do something, Haynes, there was a whole wall of Haynes repair manuals for various vehicles. So a little trip down memory lane for you guys. And I keep this around because obviously I love these cars. You got the LT1 and LS1 in here. And I don't know where the exact, God, they even go into like honing the cylinders if you're rebuilding it. But I'll find the page when we get to that point. But I like it for stuff like, technically when you're taking the rockers off, you should have the cam on the base circle or when you're tightening them down. So it tells you where, if you put top dead, or the cylinder one at top dead center, it tells you exactly which rockers you can tighten because which cylinders are going to be or have the cam on the base circle. So even though it's old, I wonder if there's a date in here. Haynes North America, 2004 was the last time it was updated, at least this one anyways. So even though it's old, it's still useful for a lot of that stuff. But I got updates. Here's my valve train organizer. Haven't seen this on the channel in a little while. Usually this is, as the name implies, to keep your valve train organized because you want the same parts that have already worn together to go back together the same way. So this rocker is mated with this surface on the push rod, which is mated with that surface down there on the cup of the lifter, etc., etc. We're going to be replacing all the push rods, all the lifters, all that stuff. So it really doesn't matter, but just a good habit to get into. You got room for your spark plugs, lifters as well can go in here. All your push rods, obviously, your rockers. Just a good way to keep stuff organized. Rear and front, and then obviously right and left. Haven't used this in a while, but dusted it off, and we'll use it to keep our valve train organized. Over here, a lot more progress has been made. The radiator and fan assembly is out. I got the valve covers off, got the rockers off, push rods out. Look at how clean this motor is. I don't think it's ever had a valve cover off, but super, super clean, stock, unmolested LS1. So what we're gonna do is go ahead and molest it and modify it with a cam and headers and tune and all sorts of other stuff. Also got the power steering pulley / pump assembly off. That's real tight, kind of a pain. It's also a pain on the Corvettes, so I guess I can't complain too much. Got the balancer off. The bolt really, really fought me. That thing has definitely not been off in 23 years or 24 years, whatever it's been. But a little bit of heat. I tried using a breaker bar with a jack handle on it. It started bending the breaker bar. So then I applied a little bit of heat and then hit it with the Milwaukee with a fully charged battery. And that finally broke it loose. This is one-time use, so we got a new one of those. I got this puller a couple months ago, and it doesn't work on the Fords, the modular Fords anyways. That one needs like a steering wheel type puller, so this is the first time using this style puller here, and it worked awesome. There'll be a link for this in the description. I think I got it off Amazon. It was pretty cheap. It's a lot better than using just a generic 3-jaw puller from Harbor Freight. It actually fits correctly, grabs onto here, and works pretty well. So yeah, no problem pulling that off once we got the bolt out. So at this point, we are ready to struggle and break all of these head bolts loose on both sides and hopefully pull these heads off. Just got to get this steam port off. Hopefully I got all the wiring connections on the back. We'll find out. Also, I broke my oil pressure sensor removing the intake, so be careful. Don't do that when I did, because it's like a $40 sensor from GM. Of course, I cheaped out and got like a $14 one on Amazon. Hopefully that doesn't bite me in the butt. But yeah, let's keep going. Let's get these head bolts off. Might even, if I'm feeling up to it, try and clean and degrease this engine bay and some of these engine parts, and then we'll see what's next. So let's keep going. Oh, it's a good idea in theory. don't you guys remind me how terrible these things are to work on. I would have left it stock. Damn it. Guess we'll just sit up here, quarter turn by quarter turn, way back there. Love this for me. Good thing there's only 20 of them. Woo! Oh yeah. Didn't I say something like, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes ago about how the hard part was behind us? That should be the hard part. I lied. That was terrible. Once again, the awkward positioning of this motor just really makes this difficult. The nose is so long. You got 4 feet before you even to the front of the motor, and then another 2 feet to get to the back bolts there. So for the most part, you're standing here and reaching for a bolt back there over the fender, which is difficult when you're trying to break loose a bolt that's been torqued to 100 foot-pounds for 24 years. Made even harder by the fact that my shoulder has been bothering me, my bicep has been bothering me, so I've been trying to, take it easy on those and use my left hand a little bit more, which is my off hand. So I'm in here trying to break the bolt loose, it slips, punch the cowl, that's always fun. So then I thought, maybe if I got in here, that would make it easier, and that was even more awkward. Then you do 1/8 of a turn, bolt slips, punch the cowl, wrench falls down into that abyss down there. Then you got to get out of the car, come under here, find the wrench. It was a whole thing. So then I was like, wait a minute, they make a tool for this. Right angle impact. I've always wanted one of these things. Now's the perfect time to buy it. Home Depot had it on sale. Milwaukee Fuel with the M12. You got a free lithium-ion battery, $199. This is a great tool, but it didn't work for what I'm doing. I don't know if it's the stickiness of the torque to yield head bolts or what, but basically you'd crack them loose and then they were like extremely difficult to get out the entire way out. So the entirety of this thread was 1/8 of a turn at a time. This thing would not do it. So for the front 4, basically, I could use the big dog here, and that zipped them right out. But these back 6 or so, I had to do almost 80% probably by hand. 1/8 of a turn, punch the cowl, 1/8 of a turn, and then finish up with this thing. And I thought, maybe this one's junk, or maybe this is just a bad tool, and I did a test on the lug nuts back here, which I torqued to like 100 foot-pounds, zipped it right off. So it's something to do with those torque to yield bolts or whatever. And then you guys just saw I use it on the timing cover where my regular cordless ratchet would have never been able to break those loose. This thing busted them loose, no problem. So I'm still incredibly glad that I bought this. Obviously not sponsored by Milwaukee. Can't imagine why. Crazy those guys haven't reached out yet. Can you believe it? But glad I have that in my tool arsenal now. I'm sitting here thinking, I was like, you know, when I was 20, I would have sat here and suffered for 2 hours, just eighth of a turn, but I was like, everything hurts right now, and I'm 34, and like I can afford to buy this tool, so let's go buy the tool. And after all that, it didn't really help. But whatever, now we have it, and it does work as intended. So heads are off. I blasted the timing cover off. We have exposed our timing set, and no surprises here. The cylinders look absolutely perfect. Interesting fact here, these are graphite head gaskets, which kind of sucks because that means there's going to be a lot more cleanup here. I've done heads or cams or whatever on LS2s, LS3s, and LS7s. All of those have the metal head gasket from the factory. I guess the LS1s did not, unless this has had the heads off it before, which I doubt. But yeah, there's your lifters, or trays rather. The lifters are under there, so we can replace those. Same thing on this side. Crosshatch looks great. Beautiful cylinders. This stuff will all clean up. Let me know if you guys have any tricks for cleaning up an aluminum block with like graphite crap like this. You got to be careful with aluminum blocks. Usually I use a ton of brake clean and a razor blade, and that's probably what I'll do here, but if you guys have any tips, let me know. Another interesting thing I noticed on the LS1 is that there's 2 head bolts that are short. It's like the top left bolt and then the top right bolt, like if you're staring at the head as it comes off. So we'll have to keep track of that when we put the new ones on. Here's the heads. Nothing too surprising. Definitely needed plugs, that's for sure. I think these are the original plugs, actually. Denso. I don't know if those have ever been out. 63,000 miles. But yeah, now we have easy access to replace the valve springs, valve seals, and all that. And here's your graphite head gaskets. So from this point, we just got to pop the oil pump off, 3 cam bolts, and then we should be able to pop the cam out. And then we can start reassembly. Oh yeah, also made a little barrier here and here, and got the power washer out since it was pretty warm today. Power washed this whole area, so this is a lot cleaner now. And of course, did the water pump and the intake manifold too, so these are nice and clean. Ready for, I don't know, paint, obviously. You ever been on this channel before? What are you, new? But that is gonna do it for tonight. I am beat. Everything hurts, everything. So I'm gonna go try and heal my body so we can finish this project and remind myself never to work on a 4th gen F body ever again. Like 700 of you were in agreement with me that we should mod this thing, but like 7 of you were like, no, leave it stock. Now I kind of wish I listened to that 7 of you. Just kidding, this thing's gonna be sick. I'm just old and complaining. All right, see you guys tomorrow. You know, the more I look at this, the more I think it might have been easier to just pull the whole motor out to do this. The AC condenser, apparently, I got the cam, as you guys saw, I got the cam like 90% of the way out, and it runs into the AC condenser. I think I remember reading about this like 15 years ago, so you have to flip the AC condenser kind of up and out of the way to get the cam out. But the cam is out, lifters and lifter trays are out. You can see down there, you just gotta use a magnet to pull them out of their bores there. Got the motor at top dead center on number 1, which means our timing gears, or our cam gear and our crank gear were aligned. Not entirely necessary when you're doing a cam anyways. These LS's are so easy to time. It's literally just dot to dot. But I like to do it, good practice, have number 1 at top dead center. So when you can time it, time the new cam, it's just a little bit easier. Stock cam is right there, so we'll put that in the trash pile, or I don't know, make it into a lamp or something. Valve train organizer is just about full. Lifters all look great. You know, no signs that any of them were seized or anything like that. No excessive wear on the rollers. Sometimes if you have a lifter that seizes up, you'll get a flat spot on the roller. That usually wipes out the cam too, but not that we would expect that anyways. This motor sounded great. Other than a little bit of LS1 piston slap, which most of you guys have noticed, and I mentioned in the very first video, almost every single one that I've had does it. Some guys say they run them like that for 150,000 miles. This one appears to be no different, but it had, you know, 70 pounds of oil pressure at cold start, great oil pressure hot, no metal in the oil. Like it's not a rod knock or anything like that. It's just the way that they sound sometimes. So we're gonna make it louder so you can't hear it as much. Unfortunately, I'm kind of at a little bit of an impasse here for a couple reasons. Biggest one being I went to pull the oil pump off, and in order to do that, you have to get a 10 mil bolt off the pickup tube down there. And I'm now realizing I think I have to drop the pan down a little bit in order to get that, which is not great. I mean, it's not the end of the world, and I probably should do it. I do have a new timing set for this motor. I have a new melling oil pump. I probably should do it, but the car had perfect oil pressure, no other issues. Do I really want to do all that extra work? I probably should. I don't know, we'll see. But that is gonna do it for this video. I have taken a perfectly good, pretty much stock, running and driving 2001 Trans Am WS6 and turned it into not that. The good news is all the good, awesome aftermarket parts are ready to go on. The disassembly is just about done. Literally all that's left to do is pull off that oil pump, and then we have to get to cleaning the block surface, cleaning the heads. Then we can put in the cam and just basically, you know, reverse of removal. But you know, we're gonna paint some stuff. We're gonna make this thing look good. I can guarantee you this is not gonna be your average looking 4th gen, you know, cam and header engine bay. It's gonna look a lot better than that. Got a couple things up my sleeve. You guys know how I like to do it. So thank you guys as always for watching. I'm gonna start filming the next one probably right about now. So make sure you're subscribed if you haven't already. Catch you in the next one.